Hello, everyone. Welcome to Question Everything, a podcast all about learning from the successes and the failures of those who dared to, well, question everything. This podcast is part interview, part therapy, and part Price is Right. We have our own game board stacked with questions that'll make even the most successful CMOs totally sweat. I'm your host, Ashley Walters, CMO and partner at Curiosity. On today's episode, I sit down with Michelle Hillman, Chief Campaign Development Officer at Ad Council, the national nonprofit that mobilizes the energy and talents of the communications industry to make a measurable impact on the most critical social issues of today. In her role, Michelle brings together leading creative agencies, corporate partners, media and technology platforms, and nonprofit and government clients to drive public education, awareness, and action. Today, Michelle shares from Elmo to the Pope, why having a trusted messenger strategy is critical for activating a campaign, what you need to do to catch the attention of an Effie's judge, and why a creative review board might be the difference maker in your next campaign. If you're into some of the most iconic advertising work ever produced, hello, Smokey the Bear, this episode is for you. Let's get started. Michelle Hillman serves as the Chief Campaign Development Officer for Ad Council. She manages Ad Council's creative review committee made up of nearly 30 of the ad industry's top agency leaders focused on making a significant impact for critical social issues. She has enacted change around social issues like opioid abuse, gun safety, and girls in STEM. She has been with the Ad Council for 24 years. And did I mention she won a Daytime Emmy? Michelle, welcome to Question Everything.
Hey, Ashley, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, so I have two questions out of the gate. These aren't even on the board, but why have you been at Ad Council for 24 years? I'm so fascinated, and I got to know about this Emmy.
So the 24 years, I get that question all the time. I can't say this is the first time that someone's asked me that. Pretty much every time we interview anybody and they go check me out on LinkedIn, that's the question. But you know what? I really have one of the best jobs in advertising. I get to work with the best and brightest people in our industry that are donating their time and talents across media, marketing, advertising, and tech for social good because they care about the issues that we work on. And we are surrounded by such incredible partners, and we change as the industry changes. So it's like my job changes all the time anyway, but I happen to do it with the best people in the world on the most important issues in our country. So you can't really beat that. So
Nope.
That would be why I'm still here. And you know what? The Emmy is for our vaccine education campaign, one of the biggest campaigns in our history in helping the country move through the pandemic and really getting people to face their hesitancy, get the information they need, and then make a choice to go get a vaccine. And so we had an incredible campaign that we worked on with many, many partners, 300 partners, several hundred pieces of content, and really saw the work help in that fight to get the country back to where they needed to go. So pretty proud moment.
Wow, that's incredible. Were you at the Emmys?
I was not at the Emmys, no.
No.
I don't even know if they had the Emmys in person that year, to be quite honest.
Of course.
But, it is a prestigious award that you like to add to your bio, for sure.
Wow, that is really impressive and very important work. I am so excited to dig into your 24-year career and maybe even some moments before then because your resume and your experience is, it's so profound and moving, and the work that you're doing is really changing lives and saving lives. And I can't imagine something more important to put our time and our talent and our treasure behind. And so I'm excited to dig in with you and kind of unpack some of these amazing journeys that you've been on.
Well, let's do it. I'm excited too. And I'm glad that you guys are a partner of ours. So you're along for the journey, and, thanks for having the conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have absolutely loved working with you and your team on the buzz driving work. So I can't wait for that to go out live soon.
Us too. Some of the best work we've ever done on the issue. So hopefully we'll win some awards there too together.
Love that. Let's do that. All right, we're going to pull up the game board. So as you know, we've got 12 super spicy questions on our game board. I don't know what's behind them. You don't know what's behind them. So we're just going to have a little fun together. So maybe we start with your favorite number.
All right, let's do lucky number 7.
Lucky number 7. Okay. So Ad council campaigns are known for expertly using emotion to change consumer behavior. What advice do you have for brands to create effective emotional advertising? I think sometimes, I'm not going to say it's easy, but the emotion is there in the issue. But deodorant brands or food brands, it's a little harder for some of them. So, any advice that you can share?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point you make. I think, we do have the easy job, I guess I'll put it in quotes, even though the issues are so complex and, our issues are inherently emotional, as you said. But, I think for us at the Ad Council, every story we tell is grounded in immersive research and insights from our target audience. And so I think really truly understanding and feeling what it's like to walk in our target shoes. And for us, it's on, some of the most critical issues that America faces today, right? So we have to tell authentic human-centered stories that are going to change behavior on things like asking gun owners to responsibly store their guns at home to reduce gun violence, or raising awareness of the deadly dangers of fentanyl among teens. And so sometimes it's empathy, sometimes it's humor, and it really depends on what truly is going to break through with new information or a new way of thinking about things. And I think for us, it's really, we spend a lot of time with the people we're trying to reach to really understand how to deliver that new news. I think you guys are, incredible at that, at Curiosity. The way that you've brought humor into the new category with Dude Wipes, I think is exactly the right way to figure out what is the emotion that's going to connect to a brand, a category, a value proposition. So, we do it on some of these meaty things, and I think you guys do it super well.
I love that. I think that's really good advice for the brand managers in particular that are listening. I mean, we do a lot of research in general, read a lot of studies, do a lot of surveys, but spending time with your consumer is so important. And that's what can lead to those human insights. Even I think about things like grocery shopping, like going grocery shopping with shoppers and seeing how they're purchasing, decisions that they're making at shelf, and then applying some of those insights into your work can make the work more emotional and less functional.
Absolutely. I think for us, some of the, most important informing research we do is when we really do spend time in people's homes, or, you spend time with people when they're leaving the bar on an issue like buzz driving, to really understand, right? Like what is the thought process? How are people making decisions? How do they feel? And then how you can intercept them with a message from your brand to make them think about something differently.
Great advice. And that doesn't have to cost a ton of money either, or take
Absolutely
a ton of
not.
time, right? Okay. Good advice. All right, let's go back to the game board.
We're going to go vertical and do number 3.
All right, number 3. So you've served as a judge for the Effies and for Advertising Week's D&D Impact Awards. We all want to know what grabs your attention. How do we win? What does it take?
It's a great question. I feel like we're talking a lot about get to win awards, I get to judge awards. So that's excellent. And you know what? I think those two that you highlighted, I think for me, it's really about impact, right? Like there is such an exceptional amount of talent in our industry. There are so many compelling and creative campaigns to choose from when you're a judge in these really highly esteemed competitions. So for me, I'm always looking for, what's the new insight or the new media or new marketing tool or approach that really delivers the deep impact, and how does it do it in a way that viscerally sticks with me. I think for me, I don't know what you do, but when I am judging, I typically do 2 rounds of review, even though it takes such a long time. So I kind of go through and I do what we're supposed to do. And then I go back to the ones that really stuck with me, that really make a deep impression, and really try to unpack those a little bit more. Because I think the ones that have the staying power because they've brought new news or they've done it in a fresh way are really the things that rise to the top for me.
That's great. All right. So we need new innovation, something that's never been done before. We call them MBDBs here. So
Okay.
finding something that kind of stands out and then showing the impact is the way to win.
Absolutely. And I mean, I know we talked a little bit about our work together for, buzz driving, but I think, as we head into award season for next year, I think, the real and cinematic storytelling that you guys have done on this issue and really tapping into the right audio cues around the sounds of life for a very, hard to reach and motivate male target of 21 to 34 years old. Like there's no reason that men should not get home safely after a night of drinking, right? We have so many solutions right now. And I think the way that you've brought the work to life in such an emotional, real way really stands out to me in some of the work that we've done for Buzz Driving. And so fingers crossed that, next year when I'm back, we could talk about our own awards.
That's right. That's right. Thank you for saying that. All right, let's get back to the game board.
Oh, perfect. Let's do 11. We're going to do a little tic-tac-toe situation.
Okay. Perfect. I love this question. So Ad Council's Creative Review Committee, and for anybody that doesn't know, this committee is stacked with legendary advertising execs like, I don't know, Cindy Gallup, Susan Creedle, Margaret Johnson. So what specifically are they looking for when they're evaluating an idea? And then can you give any tips to CMOs who maybe don't have a review committee like you do, but still want to review some of the work before it goes into market?
Yeah, I mean, we are so lucky to have, as you said, some of the most creative and strategic leaders in our industry work with us pro bono as our creative advisors. So, for us, the origins of that is that our clients and partners work so hard to raise money for these social campaigns to save lives, to change people's lives. And we take that investment really seriously. And for us, we're trying to create work that is iconic and breakthrough and memorable, that's really going to change a behavior that's probably pretty entrenched in a lot of cases. And so, when you're asking people to learn about complex and emotional topics, like thinking about their own bias and checking their own bias, or, again, I go back to one of the hardest things we do, asking gun owners to store their firearms safely, or someone to reach out for mental health support. We really need work that is going to sort of transcend creativity as we know it today to break through for consumers. And so the Creative Review Committee for us works with our partner agencies and really makes sure that our creative platform, we are pushing it as far as we can. We are breaking stereotypes. We have a really unique place in the industry where we do work with so many different people, and we have an opportunity to break stereotypes, really create diverse and authentic multicultural advertising. And bringing this group of leaders together to work with our partner agencies really helps us evolve the work. I think for us, it's kind of part of our special sauce at the Ad Council, honestly, because we get to work with incredible agencies like Curiosity on an issue. And then we get to sort of huddle with the best and brightest that are also joining us on behalf of a cause. So I feel really lucky to be a part of that. I think as far as other CMOs, I think that, there is no shortage of talent in our industry. And there really is a coalition of incredible leaders, up and coming leaders that are superstars in the creative agencies that we work in, that are really looking to delve in on things that they're really passionate about. So whether it's, social issues or it's brands that they're super passionate about, we find that if you bring together additional groups of advisory members, or like an executive council you might form with creatives that you have a lot of respect for in the industry, that are really leading the charge on something specific, whether it's, could be AI, it could be sustainability, whatever it is, that it really is an additive process if you make space for everybody.
That's great. So I don't even think I ever told you this, but I got to sit on one of your review committee meetings, and I took a screenshot of all of us in the room. So I'm like, I want to remember this moment in my career. It was so profound, and it was awesome because I got to see our creative team and our strategy team talking to that team and explaining all of the research and the work, and then them reacting and giving like real-time feedback, which is an absolute gift. So I've since then just been thinking, like, how do I recreate that for our agency? Is there a way for me to put together a review committee? And then I imagine on the brand side, there could be an opportunity to pull some of those advisors together and just make the work even better.
First of all, that's so funny. You have to send me
I will.
the screenshot. Am I in it? I don't know if I'm in it, but you have to send that to me. But I do think it's also, for young talent and young creative talent, even within the agency, to be able to sort of get an extended mentorship from leaders that have worked on, countless brands, on countless issues, and to really sort of have that dialogue and get to the heart of what creativity really is about, right? I mean, agencies are competitive, absolutely, but collaboration and learning from each other is fantastic. And so anything you can do to sort of make that safe space for people to share ideas, I think is, awesome. So you'll let me know what you do.
Yes, I will. A safe space to share ideas. That's the goal. Great advice.
Sounds good.
What row are we going to next?
Let's do 9 for my Virgo.
Love that. That's my favorite number. So, when we think about ad council work, I think a lot of people will often go to the beautiful, emotive film that you create. And I'm just kind of curious, how is ad council today thinking about influencers, creators? Any thoughts or success stories that you can share with us?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad that you asked that because I do think there is, a certain idea about an emotive film that sort of does sort of, enter people's mind space as soon as you talk about the ad council. And honestly, for 10 years, we've been working in the creator space really deeply. Our program is called Creators for Good, and that is our in-house talent engagement arm. We partner with digital content creators, traditional celebrities, athletes, musicians, really anyone in the entertainment industry to further the reach and impact of the campaigns. And really, in the last few years, we saw this with vaccine, and I'll talk about that example in a minute because it's one of my favorites. But we really broadened it to be inclusive of all trusted messengers. So we really call it our trusted messenger strategy now. And for us, that includes faith and community leaders, physicians, subject matter experts, really anybody who is extending our message in highly credible and culturally relevant ways. So we do some direct outreach as it's appropriate with our campaigns. And then we also work really closely with influencer networks like Influential and Whaler. We work with Black Girls Digital, Kensington Gray. We bring a lot of authentic multicultural voices to the work that we're doing. And I love to talk about our vaccine education effort because for me, that was like a best in class example. Over the life of the campaign in the year and a half or so, we had over 1,200 influencers. We created over 1,700 pieces of content, and we reached 55 million people with an incredible engagement rate. And I love my favorite talking point. It included everybody from Elmo, literally to the Pope. Like it was the most, I mean, imagine reviewing content from Elmo one day and, talking to parents about why they should, think about the vaccine for their young kids. And then literally we worked with the Vatican to record the Pope in the same vein. And so that was incredible for us. And so since then, nearly every campaign we work on has a Creators for Good element. They're really a brand ambassador for our causes. And we know that their authentic voice on their platforms really contributes to our overall reach and media strategy. So for us, it's like an absolute inclusion in everything we do.
That's great. Trusted messenger strategy. I've never heard it like that, but I think you can put creators and influencers and a lot of the work that we do on social into this idea of having a trusted messenger strategy. I think I'm going to use that.
Yeah, well, you think about it. I mean, you're talking to people in their communities about things that they care about and the spaces where they trust, people outside of their family, right? It's their pastors and their physicians and their teachers, and all of those people together have a voice that, really influences the way that we behave. And so it's not just, the expected celebrities or the sports people or even the micro influencers, but how do you build an ecosystem of trusted, valued voices around the topic that you're covering?
That's great. Thanks for that.
Sure.
All right, back to the board.
All right. So I'm going to go with 12 because, it's my birthday. So we'll go there.
All right, number 12. Okay, so in your 24 years at Ad Council, you've tackled many topics, including gun violence, fentanyl awareness, suicide prevention. I would love to know, what is your best advice for leaving work at work, especially when it can get really heavy? These are some really heavy topics.
They are. And as you pointed out again, for 24 years.
Exactly. I'm just so proud of you. That's all.
It's a lot of baggage. Imagine being in my family. We have so many rules and so many issues that we need to sort of uphold as being an ad council family. But you know what? You're right. It's challenging to work on such important and heavy issues. And, I'm a mom. I have two teenagers, and I often find myself kind of with a like anxious feeling in my heart, right? Or I'm in a meeting, we're talking about statistics around gun violence being the number one killer of kids. Or, one of the most profound moments for me, we started working on our fentanyl awareness campaign, and I was on a conference call with the dad who runs Song for Charlie, and he was talking about losing his son to fentanyl. And he was really educating the broader ad council team and the creative agency about the prevalence and impact of fentanyl on overdose deaths in teens. And I literally was, grabbing my phone off the charger and texting my daughter under the table while she was, in her college class about all the things she needed to know and keep in mind. And, you sort of takes a minute, right? You sort of take a deep breath and then I try to, remind myself, I try to depersonalize it and remind myself that at work, at the Ad Council, I really do have the privilege of using my time and talents with all the partners we work with to really make an impact to help kids and teens and families, veterans. There's so many people in the country that need hope and need help. And I get to play a small role in that as part of my day job. And that's pretty excellent. So, you get through the day and then you sort of turn it off and, you focus on what everyone focuses on: my family, our health, my community. And, like I said, we probably have a few more rules and watch outs around here. I always tell people, if you were to, support every issue and behavior that the Ad Council works on behalf of, that's like a really high bar for anyone to live up to. But, we try our best over here. So,
But you also have the Pope on speed dial, so you're doing something right.
I do actually. I could reach out to the Pope for you.
Oh, thanks for that. I love that you also have to make dinner at home at night too, like the rest of us. So
absolutely. Leave the at-home office and walk down to the kitchen. So,
all right, let's go back to the game board.
All right, let's go for 2.
Number 2. Okay, we all want to know, what is it like to work with the government on public service campaigns? Does it add any pressure?
Well, I could ask you that question because you've worked with the government on public service.
So much pressure.
You know what? At the Ad Council, we, have been working with the government since our inception in the 1940s, right? We sort of came out of World War II and every administration since then. And I think that we really hold ourselves accountable to where the government is digging in on data and trends and where they feel like they can really help improve the lives of Americans. And you know what? Sometimes it's tough because there's a little bit more bureaucracy than there might be on some of the other work we do. But, I think when you're working on life-saving issues, right, like making sure men don't get in the car and drive buzzed, or you're talking to parents about making sure their kids are in the right, seatbelt, or you're working with FEMA and the Ready campaign, and you're helping people prepare for weather emergencies and natural disasters as those increase in occurrence. It's always for the absolute right reason. We're saving people's lives. We're taking the best of what the government as a resource has to offer to take care of the American people and bring through communications access to those resources and getting the issues, on their radar. So sometimes it's a little bit challenging, but it's for the right reasons, and we work with wonderful, wonderful partners that really, again, help us focus on the target audience. What do they need? How are we going to save their lives or give them new information to do better for themselves or their families around the issues we work in? So it might take a little bit longer, and there's a few more layers, but I think it's all good in the end.
So basically, it's like working with Procter & Gamble.
Exactly. You said that. I love working with Procter & Gamble. I love working with the government, right? Same. Everyone, everyone you work with has their own process. But as long as we're doing good work and we're impacting people's lives and we're working with incredible partners, you can't beat it.
Couldn't agree more. All right.
Well, we're crushing this board. All right, I'm going to need 10 because I kind of like the finish the row thing.
Let's finish the row. I love that you get this one. Okay, so you just said this. Ad Council works with some really impressive agencies. Your roster of agency partners is incredible. So for any agencies out there listening to this who would love to be considered, how do you make the list?
Great question. You know what? We're so lucky. We work with incredible agencies. We work on so many different issues. And, for us, it's really about finding the right marriage, right? We want to work with an agency that is super passionate about the causes that we really believe in. They really want to lend their time and talents to, not only working on, Procter & Gamble or their paid business during the day, but they really want to make an impact on the world in the social issues that we work on. And they really have to be at the forefront of where the industry's headed, really making sure they're doing excellent creative work, that they're really leveraging media insights, that they have a diverse representation at their agency, and they're really working on behalf of the industry to break stereotypes and create authentic communications. And then we really just like people that also want to have a lot of fun. That's why we love working with you guys. I feel like, we've spent a lot of time together on these campaigns. They're really meaty and heavy issues, as you said. And so just working with incredibly talented and passionate people. And, I'm lucky enough to have the job where I can, be a liaison to the industry. And so if anyone's interested, reach out. We like to get to know people, figure out what they care about and what their superpowers are, the stories that they want to tell as an agency, and then really look for the right marriage to bring a campaign to life.
Awesome. I think I maybe told you this once, but so my three business partners, myself, Trey, and Jeff, we've always said, you'll know you made it when ad council calls. And it's always just kind of been in the back of our minds,
Aww.
Our long-term vision. And then I think we have to give a shout out to our mutual friend, Pete Carter here, who introduced the two of us.
Absolutely. Big shout out to Pete. And I'm glad we could make your dreams come true. I think for us, every time we make a good match and we get to know another incredible agency that really does the type of work that you all do to move the needle, I think that's a huge win for us. And really, the ad council is like a convening space where good people come together and introduce other good people to bring their time and talent. So we had a long history with Pete, and connecting the dots between us was just another value add. So we're happy about it too.
Love that. All right, I think we've got time for maybe two more questions.
All right, let's do number one.
Okay, number one. Which public issue has been the most challenging to build awareness for, and why?
That is a tough one.
This is a therapy session.
I referenced it a few times in our conversation. I think one of the most challenging and most important things that we're working on today is really around this issue of reducing gun violence in our country, because this is truly an American problem. The numbers are going in the wrong direction, and we're really seeing a toll being taken on our kids, both with lives being lost, with injuries, with long-term anxiety and depression effects. And we are not at the Ad Council, we're a 501c3. So all the issues that we work on, we're never going to be in the political discourse, right? This country is more polarized than ever before. And so for us, we really need to take this issue and make it a human issue. And really, a lot of that work requires talking to gun owners about really common sense storage things they can do at home. We just launched a new campaign a week or so ago around ERPOs, or red flag laws, in Illinois, where we're just talking about making sure people understand there's another tool in the market around giving people time and space to heal if a crisis comes up in their lives and there's access to a firearm, and what does that look like? And so I think it's a really delicate dance, and threading the needle on really complex issues that could be perceived politically, but the Ad Council does a really good job of threading the needle and really focusing on people, what they can do, and really humanizing through some of the things we talked about with emotion and storytelling to make a difference. So it's a big opportunity to be part of a campaign like that and really try to help change the culture in a big way. But I think it is really challenging because you have to really be cognizant of, keeping it like centered on the humanity of the issue.
And I imagine another challenge is just like the timing of it all. Like you want it to change today, and that kind of work just takes so much time and consistency.
It does. And I think that's a great point, right? I think there's things that you can work on where it is, immediate, right? You're driving sales, or, sometimes we are talking to people about something that is, a quick thing they can do. But I think when you are talking about truly deeply systemic issues, like we know that we have to stick with those for the long haul until we see the data change. And for us, just building a bigger tent of partners and continuing to go at it, like you said, with consistency and authenticity and new news and new ways in added into the mix. I think that is, a big part of the formula in trying to make a change.
Well, you guys definitely know how to do that. I mean, some of your campaigns that have been going on for a very long time have shown that consistency pays off. So,
well, that's Smokey Bear's.
Exactly.
His 80th birthday is on August 9th. And so that is the longest running PSA campaign in history. Actually, we always say it's incredible because we've worked with FCB the entire time. So who works with an agency for 80 years, right? That's kind of unheard of these days. But he has been very consistent in his message and continues to indoctrinate a new generation of kids and people that really understand the role that they can play in trying to minimize human start wildfires.
All right, last question.
All right, let's do 4.
Okay. I had a feeling you were going to cross that row off.
I know, I'm so predictable.
So, even outside of ad council here, I would love your perspective on this. I know that one topic you can totally nerd out on is mentorship. So, any advice that you can give us on what does best-in-class mentorship look like from both the mentor and the mentee's perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I'm super passionate about mentorship. I think I was lucky enough when I started growing up in the agency business to have incredibly strong women that were just like peel back the onion mentors, right? They, pull you aside and teach you those lessons that like your parents teach you, like if you're not going to toot your own horn, who else is going to toot your horn? Or like, you always want to be looking at what your boss's job is and be trying to take things off their plate so they can take things off of their boss's plate. Like just little anecdotes that I think for me were really very critical to kind of forming the foundation of my career and seeing strong women play strong roles in the agency business, and then really putting in extra effort to take other people under their wing. And I think that's really something I've tried to build. I think for me, I have a lot of people in the organization, our organization, and outside that I informally mentor. And I just think that understanding what's on their mind, sharing the things that you really struggle with, right? Like I spent a lot of time talking to people about imposter syndrome, right? I mean, I still have imposter syndrome when I'm getting up in front of a group of people. I think there's things that, especially in this remote culture, that younger people never get to see, that they don't know that other people experience and feel. And I think just being really vulnerable with people, sharing your experiences, and then really, you'll love this as curiosity, but I think really just asking questions and getting under for people what they're struggling with, taking the time to just ask them like what's on their mind, what came up for them in meetings that they felt uncomfortable about, like really digging in and getting to know people personally and suggesting things that, ways that you might handle something and role playing with people. Like, I just think it's really important to take the time out, whether it's during the workday or outside of work, to really invest in the next generation of leaders, especially women leaders in our industry.
Well, it's important. I'm so glad to hear you say all of those things. I've both experienced incredible women in my career who have helped me, and also tried to pay it forward. So Robin Buller just told me the other day, and I was just telling some other people this, she said, you give feedback to the people you care most about. And that just really stuck with me because it's so true. You want the kind of feedback that your mom's going to give you, even in your career. And not everybody has the courage to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be real with people, right? I think just really kind of like letting people be honest with people and being honest about your own faults and your own challenges and things that you've been through. I just think goes such a long way to mentoring and connecting with people and, really forming relationships. So
I just had an author on the podcast. His name's Todd Henry, and he spoke about the difference between imposter syndrome and self-awareness. And that's kind of what you're talking about here, and how self-awareness is actually the antidote to imposter syndrome. If we just kind of sit down and think about all of the reasons why we're in the room or why we have the opportunity and the things that we actually bring to the table, and less about what we don't or what others are bringing.
Absolutely. I have to say one of the best pieces of advice I had gotten from a colleague a few years ago. We were at Cannes and I was getting ready to do a panel, and you get you get in the groove, you get a little bit of nerves, right? And she said, I just don't understand, you do such a good job. Like, what are you actually nervous about? And I said, I don't know. I just think sometimes I worry I'm going to go up on the stage and nothing's going to come out of my mouth. And she said, has anything ever not come out of your mouth? Have you ever been in any conversation in your entire life, on the phone, on a podcast, on a stage, where actually someone asked you a question and nothing came out? And I was like, no, obviously not, right? And I kind of remind myself that every time I go to do something like this, because it's so silly, but you could just get in your own head, right? And that's the kind of thing I like to share with people, because I think, you look at where people are in their career, you see someone up on a stage doing panels or doing things that can, and you think, oh, like they're not ever going to be in their head about it. So I think that's the kind of stuff you got to share with people.
Okay, well, so this has been incredible. We have one final question. This is the .fun question, and it's a little this or that. So super speed style, you have to pick one or the other, and whatever comes to mind first. What do you think?
Okay.
Okay, all right, here we go. This or that. Okay, Effies or Emmys?
Effies.
Political season or cherry blossom season?
Definitely cherry blossom season.
National Air and Space Museum or the International Spy Museum?
Ooh, definitely the International Spy Museum. Very intriguing.
Love that. A 30-second spot or a social media takeover?
Social media takeover.
Puppies or kittens?
Oh, definitely puppies. Love puppies. Allergic to kittens.
I'm team puppy too. Michelle, this has been so much fun. Thank you for coming on the podcast. What's the best way for people to kind of follow your story and connect with you?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. This was great fun. It flew by. I can't believe we're finished talking. And yeah, people, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or reach out at council.org. And anyone who's interested in joining us to fight sort of the crisis of humanity that we're all living in these days, the more the merrier, because we can't do what we do without, everyone in our industry coming together.
Thank you.